I think it's going to make it feel like more of a grown-up bike compared to, say, the Hunter. Right, good morning everybody, Two-Wheel Rider here, and it's another one of those little bonus episodes I throw in when I get a chance. And when there's something interesting to talk about and comment on, I think it's worthwhile. Because what do we have yesterday, being Thursday? We had the release of the BSA Bantam. And I think there's a lot of interesting aspects to that Bantam which are worth talking about. If you remember, while I was in France, I had a chance to have a proper look around the BSA Scrambler, which was also released yesterday. Or they certainly have press bikes there. We've not seen anybody doing their YouTubey bits on those yet, so I'm not sure what's going on there. I get a sense that maybe that release was quite tightly controlled, but that's my view on it. But anyway, the Bantam, and I think it's worth looking at the Bantam, where its DNA has come from. When we're looking at Classic Legends, who's the subsidiary of Mahindra, that's where the bike is being manufactured, or being produced, or owned by, let's say. But I wanted to talk about that, and where I think it's going to take the brand, because now we've got a bit more of an identity of the brand, haven't we, which we didn't have before. So I think we should go and grab a coffee and have a proper chat. Right, I've got my coffee, I've got my Eccles cake, that's good. I'll eat that when you're not looking. So BSA then, so I think it's worth, now we're getting a more clearer picture of what's going on with BSA. So part of the Classic Legends group, which own Jawa and another name I can't pronounce, begins with a Y. You can never pronounce anything with a Y if it's got a Z in it. But they are a subsidiary of the Mahindra group. Now I think the guy that owns it is called Mahindra, isn't he? Excuse me if I get that wrong, sir. But I think initially it was not thought, but I think this was the idea that the BSA brand, when they bought the brand, was sort of a bit of a vanity project for the owner of Mahindra. And all power to people that do that anyway. But I think when the BSA Goldstar came out, I think it was a case of where we thought, well, this is going to be like a premier brand, it's going to be fantastic. And I think the edge came off that a little bit. And I think we've all been thinking, well, where actually is BSA going? Are BSA about to disappear, or they're still going to making bikes and all the rest of it? Because I don't think people saw the Goldstar as a major success, really. Very mixed reception, let's call it that. Or certainly a mixed onward journey for BSA. But now, as of yesterday, we've had the Bantam come out, and it's been released at the same time as the Scrambler. But I think the Scrambler is probably, I don't think you're going to see the videos of the Scrambler like you have the Bantam. I don't think the launch was quite like that, but we'll wait and see how that goes. There was it was a worldwide launch, wasn't it, in London? But what piqued my interest, because obviously I saw that Scrambler in France a couple of months ago, didn't I? I put a video about that, and it looks like that probably was nearer to the finished article than I realised. But the key things about the new Bantam, is that it's based on another bike's platform. So it's based on the Jawa 42, which is on sale in India at the moment. And I think that's doing quite well in India. I think the initial incarnations of that bike had a few issues with corrosion and stuff. But the bike itself, we can now sort of see where BSA are going with this. Because when you look at the Jawa version of that bike, if we take the Bantam out of there, you can see how close it is to other bikes in that area now, to the sort of Classic 350, the GB 350. They're all floating around they're not going too far off piste, are they, in terms of the look. And what I found really fascinating, if you look at the Jawa, and obviously there'll be a picture of this coming up now, is how much the Jawa 42 looks like the Goldstar, because I think it's almost got the Goldstar tank. certainly the profile of the tank, it's a wide, fat tank, isn't it? Although the Jawa has detachable plates on the side of the tank, so you can change the decals, which is quite interesting. And when you look at that, the rear mudguard as well is very BSA-like, isn't it? But of course now you can see why, because there's a connection between all these bikes now, and it gives you an indicator of where Mahindra or classic motos, classic legends are pushing the brand now. So I think we can see that we're not going to be getting a premium brand. We're going to be getting I don't want to say general brand, but just a general mix in that sort of quality, mid quality, I'd say, rather than a premium brand. It's not going to be a Norton. So where does the Bantam then differ from the Jawa 42? Well, you've got a different tank for starters. You've got a pear drop tank on there, smaller, which I think gives it a much cleaner look, much nicer look, and it doesn't have the detachable panels. So that's nice. So it is distinct enough in that area. You've also got different side panels. They've changed the side panels on the bike, which again gives it a cleaner look, a more scaled back look. And the tail tidy, you haven't got that big mudguard. They've removed that, and they've put a much cleaner line to it, with this not cluttered at all. You can see the indicators and that, which are standard BSA Gold Star. But I think that's really nice, and I think they've changed it enough from the Jawa to make it a more distinct bike. It's not just someone's repainted it and given it a nice paint job, which BSA do seem to be able to do. But it's just a really pretty looking bike. And of course, the big killer on that bike compared to the other ones in the 350 class, even though it's a 330, I think, 335cc, I always find that's quite random. It's like they make something, think, what's the capacity come out of? Oh, it's 337.6. Oh yeah, I do, we call it that. But is that it's water cooled. And if you look at the other bikes in that market, they're all air cooled, air and oil cooled. And I think that's really impressive. I think that's going to be its biggest selling point, is that engine. Because it's running another 10 horsepower over its competition at the moment, it's got it's got more compression, because if you run with water cooled, you can have higher compression rates, because you can cool the engine better. On the cooling though, I think that in India, where the Jawa is based, or the Jawa brand is sold, that bike is sold as a Jawa, is that they do have an issue with the heater. I think they say it does run pretty hot, and there are some issues around the noise of the fan. I think the fan cuts in quite readily, but that doesn't mean to say that the engine's bad. I think it's just a trait of that engine, and if it runs in India, where it's way hotter than it is here, then it should be fine here. But it does have a noisy fan apparently, and that's common with having it in the Jawa, and some of the guys that were talking yesterday that it was noisy on their ride in London. Another interesting feature of that bike is the rake angle. Thruxton going past, beautiful. Oh, Norton, that's a Norton, red Norton, lovely. The other key feature of that bike is the rake angle, and this is again where it differs from other bikes in its class. So the rake angle is 29 degrees, which is quite shallow. If you compare it to the Hunter is 25 degrees. So 4 degrees is a lot. And other bikes in its class, the GB350 is 27 degrees. So I think that makes a big difference, and it's going to make it turn slower. It's going to feel bigger. Slowing the steering down is going to make quite a big difference. So I had that on my Triumph T214. It's a more shallow rake angle compared to the standard T100, so it made it feel more like a cruiser. I'm not going to say that the Bantam's going to feel like a cruiser, but it will. I think it's going to make it feel like more of a grown-up bike compared to, say, the Hunter. So the other thing that's interesting is the price. Now, if you look at the price of the Jawa in India, it's under 2 lakh. Now let's square it up. So you are looking at about 2 grand, or under £2,000. Now the Hunter in India is about 2.3 lakh. So it's a more expensive bike. So the actual price that we're getting it in the UK matches what it does in India. And by that I mean the relative figure. Because there's the thing where Mahindra or Classic Legends have been quite clever, there's no development cost. It's already been developed. The bike's already there. They're just changing panels on it, really. So there's no new development costs. And I think this is where I'd like to come on to this thing about where BSA are probably going. They've now got two platforms to work with. You've got the Gold Star, which is also going to be the Scrambler, and you've got the Bantam. It means you can now start developing bikes around that platform, exactly the same as Royal Enfield do. You think how many bikes they've worked around the 650 platform. You know, you've got, what, 3-4 bikes in there now. So BSA could at least push out another one bike out of that platform, I think, for the 350, for the Bantam. What I'd like to see, I'd love to see a Trials or a Scrambler Bantam. I think that would be really good. And with a different type of exhaust. So, and that's the other thing they have changed compared to the, which is another interesting point, where on the Jawa, it has a twin exhaust. Some companies do that. It's a single port, but it's a twin exit, and it's got twin P-shaped exhaust on the Jawa. On the BSA, obviously, it's a single, even though they're both single cylinders, the same engine. So, yeah, wouldn't it be interesting to have that Bantam with high level exhaust, twin exhaust coming out of it? Wouldn't that look cool? Wouldn't that look really cool? So what do I think are the key features of that bike? Well, the water-cooled engine for starters, that 29 horsepower really puts it into a different area, doesn't it? And I think it's enough of if it was going to be like, you know, 22, 23 horsepower, no one's going to take any notice. But 29, 30, I think that's an appreciable difference, and that's really going to push it into a different category. The price, obviously, $3,500. You got the on the road after that, but $3,500 is a fantastic price point. They're really hitting it hard, but that's not really costing them anything, is it? Really, they're not giving it to you as a discount, because the bike is sub £2,000 in India anyway. So it's comparable to the Enfield. I think the rake angle is really important. I think that's going to change the riding characteristics of the bike. It's not going to make it as fast as the Hunter in its steering. It's going to make it a little bit more leisurely, and I think that's going to make it feel like a bigger bike, and I think that's quite key. It's going to make it feel like a grown-up bike. Obviously the styling, I think the styling is really, really nice. I think the uncluttered tail on that bike, the nice pear drop tank, I think they're all really key factors, and I'm hoping when I do get a chance to sit on one that I'm not going to be disappointed, a little bit like I was when I first got on the Gold Star. Subsequent Gold Stars were better, but that first Gold Star I sat on, which was rideable, it felt cheap. It felt cheap, and different to the bikes that I sat on the Birmingham show when they were first introduced to the world. So we will wait and see what happens. But I think those key points, the power, the looks, the rake angle. I think the rake angle is really important, you know, and obviously the cost. So we will see. It's going to be an interesting battle. But we've got another bike. We've got another two bikes, haven't we, to play with. And I think they've released the price of the Scrambler. I think it's $5,995 or about 6,000, which again is quite keenly priced. It's got to ride well to compete with the Bear. I think it's got to ride really well and show itself. I think the Gold Star has probably damaged its reputation possibly too much to make it an instant success. I think people have got to get used to it, but I think the Bantam will be a very successful bike. But we wait and see. Right, thanks for watching. I'm going to eat my Eccles cake and drink the rest of my coffee, and I'm going to go off on my Classic Legend. Classic Legends, there we are. Right, take care everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.